And now I have the pleasure of welcoming Simon Gebauer and Mohan Doshi to the stage to talk about tech, some trends that we're going to see in tech and how things are different and maybe what we can expect as we look at this world of evolving media and data. Over to you.
All right, so I'm just doing the introduction, actually. So for those who don't know me, Simon Gebauer, I'm member of the board at AMEC and European chapter chair. And it's my pleasure to introduce one of the most forward-thinking and wonderful minds in the industry. It's Mohan Doshi, CTO at Ninestars. He will talk about tech trends and trendy tech, fantastic, fun, and fails. So talk about the pitfalls, the challenges in a data-driven world. Mohan, the stage is yours.
Yeah. Thanks, Simon. Good afternoon, or I think it's going to be pretty. Just a second. So hopefully everybody is having a good time in Vienna. We are getting to the fag end of this particular session, but I think what I got in the last 2 days is everybody's talking about how data is good, bad, and ugly. So that's the perspective that's been put. But the topic that I'm talking about today, it's technology trends and trendy tech. It's a little intriguing. It's interesting and intriguing. Due to the nature of how we have started consuming quite a lot of the tech, typically, meaning when we were about 4 years back, we were in a connected world already. It was not something that we are not connected. So everybody is connected today, meaning they are mobile phones or what you wear, everything is connected somewhere or the other. And what's happening because of that is we have allowed a lot of these pervasive technologies to actually get data from us. So what is the problem with that? Meaning we have gone into an ever-connected world. It's driving quite a lot of the ways that data is being actually taken from you, used, and also how it is going to be shared with organizations that actually consume that data. So why are we, meaning as individuals, willing to share this data? This is personal data, meaning your location data or what you're going, what you're ordering, food, or meaning where are you going to go for a vacation? We are all sharing this data. And this is all coming to something called an instant gratification we get, meaning we need this instant gratification that, hey, I want to do this now, I need it. So we are, in that process, what is happening is that we are actually sharing quite a lot of data. We are sharing when we are on an OTT platform, we are sharing enough of data. Or we are getting into a whole generation wherein we are also consuming data. So a lot of data that we are consuming is also based on how our behavior is towards data. But what is the problem? So current state, meaning we are currently here. In the data paradigm, we are having continuously using data or sharing data. We are connected. Its volume of data has increased significantly, and it's already integrated. So most of the data is already integrated, meaning we know, meaning when you use an Uber, you're already integrated with the data, where you're going and everything. But what is the problem with today's data? It's primarily, it is centralized. So everybody, when we are sharing data on Google, Google owns your data. Or if you're on Facebook, Facebook owns this data. It's all centralized. So you have actually given ownership of your data to centralized organizations. It is controlled by them, meaning they use this particular data to actually project a voice of that data. So it's not, you don't have control over that. It's low on trust, meaning there is a whole study done about a week back. On an average, your data is shared to real-time bidding platforms about 750 times a day, your location data and your data. So do you trust these organizations to use your data in the right way? No. And they don't share this data, it's not interoperable. So It's very low on interoperability. So if you need data from Google, you might need to go to the codes to get some data, actually. Now, what's going forward, the data paradigm looks like is that we need to democratize data. The need will be to democratize data, but it's not until you give consent to data. So that is one thing. The second is, it needs to be a single point of truth that needs to be there. So it cannot be data that is misaligned or manipulated in any which way. So it has to be a single point of source or single point of truth that you could call. It has to be trusted. So within the network, meaning if we are communicators here and marketers, we need to trust this data. So it has to be within that community you have to trust. It should be trusted. It should be verifiable, and it should be interoperable in every which way. So the current technologies are not allowing it, or the current technologies are very expensive to implement such paradigms. Meaning, if you are trying to implement such paradigms saying, OK, it needs to be interoperable, it needs to be trusted, it's a very expensive option. So what are technologies that will make this happen as we move forward? So yeah, meaning I put a few names out, meaning few cryptic words out here, but these are already in the plane that we are talking about. So the key thing is the whole thing with blockchain is enabling quite a lot of data democratization. So we would say, OK, its implementation is still in infancy and a lot of those things, but it's already in a place wherein quite a lot of these technologies are implementable. The whole concept of artificial intelligence, I think we had these sessions from yesterday on AI, and even today it continued. But the key is that artificial intelligence will be used to actually refine the data and make the data more trustworthy. That's the key thing. So you can get data, meaning you can get data, enormous amount of data, but who will validate it? It's not humans who cannot validate it. So we'll need AI technologies to actually drive that validation. And then the whole 5G networks will enable huge amount of data that you can share immediately, or you can actually acquire that data in a quicker manner. But all of these are being driven by a whole new area wherein cloud computing and everything is becoming much more pervasive. Everybody is trying to use it and actually enabling that to happen. So coming back to what technologies we have seen. So all of these technologies are in the Web 3.0 space, what we call. So there are issues with what we are doing today in the Web 2.0 world. But the Web 3.0 is, again, meaning if you decentralized apps, so you're not going to be using Google search or any of these platforms. You will have your own platforms to actually go get the data and actually validate it. So some of the key interesting features of Web 3.0 that we need to look at is semantic web, wherein actually the search, we are doing Boolean search today, primarily. But semantic search will actually drive data consumption in a very different way. AI is going to be there as a central core to all of this data validation. But the decentralized technology is going to be very key when we are looking at how you trust data and how you build this digital trust. So and the last one is the digital trust itself. So when we talk about digital trust, we say it is core to how you actually drive between producers of data and consumers of data. So how do you drive that trust? And is it being used the right way? So all of these are going to be driving that particular protocol of digital trust. So I spoke about a little bit on the semantic web, but the foundations of this crypto and blockchain technology will actually drive the decentralized products that we are looking at. And might be it's 3 years before we would not have talked about it, but during the pandemic, this has become a mainstay in terms of quite a lot of the distributed or decentralized apps that have come up in the market. So one of the key things with artificial intelligence is that why we need to implement it in a different way? It's to eliminate mistakes or human errors in data. Meaning, when we are sharing data, we need to have people trust our data. So what is the best way to use it is using artificial intelligence to actually provide data which is much more trustworthy, and people are going to pay for it. Meaning, if organizations want my data, then they will have to pay for it, but I have to ensure that it is true to an extent. It's good data, and it's consumable data. But also, this whole idea of using AI as the core in Web 3.0 will be to boost productivity and also the efficiency of operations. So if we are using data today, we are having, I think, there are enough of people in every organization just sifting through data, cleaning it up, so that the reports are looking good. I think this whole thing will morph into something which is going to be driven, automated by AI itself. And the decentralized technology, it's actually going to promote accountability and openness in protocols. So that's the key. So if you're having accountability, you know that how your data is being accessed, who's accessing it, and why they are accessing it. So if you know that it ensures the ownership of the user's data, it actually will enable a lot of accountability within the data usage practices. Today morning, we had a session on EU's AI ethical laws. I think this technology, meaning adoption of such technologies, will actually promote those type of implementations effectively. And then the digital trust itself, if you look at, it will add on the transparency factor, but also increase the efficiency and speed at which data can be shared and communicated. But how do we get this thing done is, meaning, if I need a piece of data, say, meaning my data on my travel from India to here, meaning I need to share that data, I can actually package it and put it into a blockchain and say, OK, I have a smart contract to share this data. So there will be marketers who will be looking at that very specific period of data, and it can be consumed. So it could be a piece of data that from a big data set that you could consume, or it could be the whole data set. So these are pretty much the ways that smart contracts will work. It's for a period you can use the data, or how much are you going to pay for such type of data. But all this is fine. What will drive the adoption of such technologies? So are we ready? Meaning, who's going to adopt such technologies? Meaning, corporations are already, or enterprises are already deep into building large databases, big data, and all of that stuff. Why would they invest in this? One key thing is that there's a whole new economy of creator economy coming. So we know about the influencers and creators, and they are actually becoming larger than what individual organizations were. So they are creating an economy larger than what a big agency would do, a digital agency. They have much more power. And so when they create content, they would want to know where their content is used or how many impressions were there, all of these things. And they would want to control this. So for them, it's about creativity. But they don't worry about how the data or content is being exchanged. So they need something to drive that whole experience. So it'll be creators, influencers driving this particular need. There'll be these guys will become new entrepreneurs in terms of the amount of content that is being produced, and agencies and marketing organizations using that content. So a lot of things on social commerce, live commerce today is driving quite a lot of the businesses. So this is getting to become a much more creator-based economy rather than some agency or a studio creating videos and ads and putting it on an ad network. So these are going to become one of the monetization models that's going to come up. The second is more in terms of the extended reality. And this is just not about virtual reality. Extended is much more how we would expect to interact with extended reality solutions today. So you could be meaning in this room, and you could be having a hologram and interacting. So there are a lot of different ways that the content needs to be created and exchanged. So this will be another place where how content is going to get consumed. How many units of my content are going to be exchanged in this world, in the virtual world. So all of this will work towards what we call as metaverse. I don't think that's ready yet, but it is moving towards that particular model. And then we do have interactive web technology, wherein the physical and digital boundaries are actually declining. You'll have a lot of virtual identities or interactions which needs to be captured, and that will drive, again, the adoption of such content and the data that behind it. But you need some way to actually protect your data. So say I do have some data that I want to protect, and I want to make it shareable. I think one of the technologies that's pretty much available today is the NFTs that can be created on any piece of digital content or data, or it could be even an image. But NFT as is will not drive the thing, but it is going to improve the market efficiency. And I want the content for, say, an hour. I want to use it today. I can just pay a fraction of the cost for the NFT. So it's a subscriber-based NFT that we could leverage and use the content and make it happen. What are the technologies that will help on the way? So one is the cloud adoption. I think everybody is moved to that. It's going to be even more with virtualization, and it's going to be pretty quick, meaning today you don't need a developer to get into doing all your cloud adoption. It's just drag and drop, and pretty much you're there. The second is the low-code, no-code approach, meaning you just go into an interface, pick up what you want to build for an application, put it together, and you say deploy it. It's already there, and it's available. So these two will actually drive the whole idea of, OK, I want to put something together and make it available for the audience, my audience, for my data. And then that consumption will go in a whole different way. All of the transactions will get stored on your blockchain. But why we need blockchain and not any other thing? We cannot depend on corporates or large corporates to hold data, which is personal. So again, the consent-based mechanism will have to be approached in a pretty different way. And the 5G adoption. So today we are on 4G or 3G in some places. But once 5G comes, meaning you could have your laptop being the server that runs all these protocols. You don't even need a server, and everybody could access the content and which you have actually put together. Just to drive a use case, meaning you think of a connected car, which is 5G enabled, and you have a breakdown. So what happens is that there are dApps, meaning it's decentralized apps, which will do a self-diagnosis of what's wrong with your car, and then it will go and do a semantic search. So now, semantic search is it's producing a lot of data from your onboard diagnostics. It can actually push this data to a semantic search engine, and it will come back saying, hey, this is wrong with your car. And it will say, by the way, you need to look at a catalog. So the catalog for that car, to fix the car, will be on an NFT. So you can actually go, and for that one query, you could actually get a pay-per-view-based enabled NFT. And once you're having that data, you can actually share all of this data with a trusted mechanic who's on the network. Now, why do you want to share this data with a trusted mechanic? Because that trust is going to be that how he uses the data and what his credibility is. So the trust factor is by reputation and prior experience you could build. So when they are on the network, the data that is shared with the mechanic of your car will be on a trusted mode. So he cannot take this data and actually share it further. So it's for him, it's for this particular event or engagement that he's going to be using it. And if they're doing a good job of fixing your car, you can actually give a good rating, and that is on an NFT badge that comes up. So they are getting for excellence of service and everything. So all of these are pretty much available as technologies today. And if he's buying a part and replacing it in your car, then you can look for the genuineness of that using, again, blockchain for supply chain. So all of these networks can get connected and actually bring all of this experience to a user in a very, very different way. Now, why would we go from the current world into this world is the adoption. So as soon as adoption picks up, the mechanisms and the cost models will work out for such adoption, meaning such technologies to become really widely used. And finally, all of this data is on a private or a public cloud. You could choose, and then you could make it available. So are we ready, meaning for such technologies? Today, meaning if you look at some of the browser technologies, the storage, there are alternatives on the Web 3.0, decentralized apps. And I have a couple of storage mechanisms and browsers that I use that are on the dApp space. So to conclude, data will be the new currency. And has Web 3.0 arrived? Yes, it has arrived. Whether it's going to be used by quite a lot of the adopters, that depends on how this progresses, but it's already there. And data and its ownership will drive new business models. That's key. Content, there'll be a whole new economy of content that we see. So content will, meaning there will be publishers, but then there will be creators of content. Might be 10 times or 100 times more creators of content that's going to thrive on this model. And the speed of adoption will be key for such technologies. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Mohan, for these really great insights and outlooks, and for giving us such a concise overview of all the challenges, pitfalls, but also opportunities in a data-driven world. Are there any questions to Mohan in the audience? Any questions in the audience? Oh, yeah, there is one back there.
Yeah. What's your view on that right now, right here, right now? So today, meaning the adoption is started, meaning there are enough of research projects that have made it into mainstream. So I think there are enough of blockchains that have gone into mainstream. I would say the failure is the crypto. Crypto is a different model that I would say. That yeah, NFT marketplaces, but if we use NFT marketplaces in the right way, meaning, say, if it's a marketing house and they do have created data, and you package that data into an NFT, that in itself is making it completely decentralized in one way, but it's also accessible for how you use it, and all of these things are within the NFT. So you cannot misuse the content or misuse data. These are things that will formulate, and these are becoming mainstay. So today there are enough of NFT marketplaces for every, meaning I would say the way that models the content for gaming, it's become big, but also in terms of content creation, meaning I think the publishers and the content creators are now looking into NFTs as the base. So I think it's another 6 to 8 months wherein we would see real adoption taking place, but this is already moving. It's no more research projects. They have actually become mainstream.
So you would describe yourself as bullish on Web3?
I'm not only bullish, I think this will become mainstay. Yeah. And the reason is simple, meaning it's large corporations are today, meaning I think it was in the previous topic, meaning the previous presentation, they said, I think Elon doesn't trust Twitter numbers. Who will trust? You have to give the trust to somebody. Meaning, if I don't trust a big corporation like Twitter, then where do you move from there? So I think there will be some governance that needs to be done within the industry, but it will be something that we cannot adopt these existing technologies for that, because these are manipulative. And if we are going to go, if we need to go beyond this, then I think this set of technologies is available. It is becoming mainstream. It's not something that's in the lab. That's why I think I would not say I'm bullish. I think it will be something that we can see it in the near future.
All right, Charles, thank you for the good question. Are there any more questions in the audience? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was just wondering about if you had any thoughts on energy use and energy consumption. The energy consumption per transaction cost
Yeah.
blockchain is huge.
Yeah, so we are looking at, meaning actually we are in the lab, we are working on some of these technologies, but what we have done is we are not using the core, we are not on Ethereum or on these chains. We are on a different chain which we are trying to build. It's a layer 1 adoption, meaning what we are trying to adopt layer 1. But we are looking at creating subnets for industries. So it's not going to be like one blockchain for the whole thing. So right now, what is happening is that because of the constraint on the existing blockchains, your cost of Ethereum gas is around $400 sometimes per transaction. That doesn't help. So we are looking at different blockchains and how to adopt it for this market.
Is that the key constraint for scaling?
Yeah, it's not only for scaling, it's actually even the pricing. So if you're looking at content, which is say it's a $10 fee for a view of content, you cannot have a $40 gas fee on $10 of content. So that economics will not drive it. So these will constantly change, and I think there are enough of layer 2 chains that are actually helping. So one is Polygon, you can look at it. That's actually enabling quite a lot of the dApps that are there in the market.
Okay, are there any more questions? Maybe a question from my side, Mohan. Another buzzword, the metaverse. What's your prediction on the metaverse in general, and where do you see our industry's place in the metaverse? So
I think brands will need to move into the metaverse at some point. As I said, it's in infancy, but brands will have to move into the metaverse. The audience is going to be there, and you're going to have a global audience out there. So it's not restricted to time and space, or time or place. It's going to be, brands will need to be there. So once brands are going to be there, advertising, brands, your media intelligence, everything will have to move into that space. So I think it is not too far away that we would see such usage of metaverse and also the industry moving into it. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Mohan. So it's actually my pleasure now to leave you into the lunch break. I think there is another session going on in the second room, but thank you very much again, Mohan from Ninestars. It was a pleasure having you on the stage. Thank you.
Thanks, Simon.